Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Sunday, May the 15th. Race number 8 at Woodbine. It's the Grade 3 Jacques Cartier going 3/4 of a mile on the Tapeta. $150,000 is the purse. Before we take a look at the field, DRF Bets is trying to make you some money for the Preakness via the Bonus Bucks series. Get up to $100 cash for the Preakness. Use the DRF Bets iPhone or Android app to bet $10 or more to win on any one horse in the race of the days between May the 8th and May the 17th. If your horse doesn't win, but comes in second or third, you will earn a $10 bonus. Here's the field for the Jacques Cartier. And if you're on your computer, scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen to access Race of the Days on mobile. Of course, you can download and you could view free formulator past performances on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Take a look at them handicap along with Super Stonehenge. Mike took down Pink Lloyd a couple of times last year. With Pink Lloyd retired, there are some big shoes to fill in this division.
There are. Maybe this horse can fill them, though, Dan. He did seem like he got pretty good when they finally came back to this surface with him towards the middle of last year. He ran two pretty big races, beating Pink Lloyd back-to-back. He lost his final start of the year, Dan. I don't know. I didn't think he ran that poorly in there with a suspect trip and ride.
I agree. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector, because Super Stonehenge, when he did defeat Pink Lloyd, was right up on the pace, as Timeform US expects him to be on Sunday. Last time out on the Kennedy Road, there was no pace going on. He broke from the outside. He wound up in mid-pack near the back of the pack, and really what chance did he have against Pink Lloyd with that kind of trip? He has to deal with a layoff in this spot, and you have to wonder if they're going to give him a race or two before he finds his best.
Yeah, and he might have to deal, if their designs are to go forward again, or go forward this time anyway from the outside post, there's speed to his inside. I mean, I don't know how fast this pace is going to get, Dan, but there are several horses to his inside who could show speed in here.
Especially Gretzky the Great, who's stretching out off a 5/8 turf performance in which he was on the lead. Silent Poet has excellent tactical speed as well. Let's start things off with a veteran that we're familiar with from the New York circuit. The number 1 White Flag is 15-1 on the morning line for Roger Attfield. Emma Jane Wilson. This horse got a nice comeback, I thought, last time out in the Thorncliffe. He finished behind Arzak, but many of these horses were making their first start of the layoff, and fitness was probably a concern. He's likely fit now.
That's probably true. He could certainly take a step forward off of that race where he just flattened out in the late stages of the race and got a little tired. Maybe that's what they wanted to happen with him. I guess the main question for him, Dan, is he as good on this synthetic surface as he is on turf? He's a good turf sprinter. His two synthetic races aren't great, but there are ways to mitigate those performances.
Another horse coming off a layoff is the 2 Secret Reserve. Now, Secret Reserve, they tried to go long with him in his last 2 starts as a 3-year-old, and it just didn't work out. The stamina wasn't there. Previously, he ran some really nice races on synth and turf sprinting, so I like the cutback in distance, but it looks like he's taking a pretty big step up in class.
Yeah, I was concerned about that too. I could see trying to get him in there somewhere at a pretty big price, Dan, because I do think he's way better sprinting than he is going longer. And I actually feel like even the 6 furlongs is better for him than the 7 furlongs. He won twice at 7 furlongs last year, but didn't finish necessarily great in those races. The 1 6 furlong win, the allowance win back in July, he really finished strongly off a good trip that day. I think he's interested at a big price, but only if he's a big price.
The runner-up from the last race returned to win a $40,000 claimer with an 84 Beyer speed figure. Gretzky the Great, Grade 1 winner of the summer as a 2-year-old, trying to maybe reinvent himself as a synthetic sprinter. He did winter at Gulfstream Park last time out, and he showed good speed in a very fast-paced race, understandably tired. He's another horse that should be fit for this, Mike, and I don't mind him getting back to synth. I think he's slightly better on turf, but if he can get away with a moderate pace scenario, he fits here.
I agree with that. I feel like, maybe he's a little better on turf. I think his synth form is okay, Dan, especially when you consider that the only times, for the most part, they run him on this surface, is at least the 2 times last year, they were going longer. And I think this horse is better sprinting. The concern for me in this race is there's other speed in here, and I just wonder how he's going to be able to deal with that.
The number 4 Striker exploded onto the scene for trainer Josie Carroll towards the tail end of 2021. Well-bred Warfront Colt won both of his starts, including this effort going 6.5 furlongs on December the 4th. And I like the way he finished this race off. He's in between horses. He's inexperienced, and yet he still is professional enough to squeeze his way through. A horse that was well behind in this field came back to earn Beyer speed figures of 82 and 90 when second and first level allowance races in his 2 subsequent starts.
Yeah, he did some good things in this race. You're going to notice that the horse that he's out finishing there, the 8, who was right alongside him at the top of the race, that horse is over 90 to 1. But I still feel like Stryker ran a really good race there just because, Dan, he broke from the rail in a big field. And he broke fine in that race, but they obviously were trying to teach this horse something. They did not go forward with him. They took him back off the pace and let him sit a little bit. And then he had to come really wide to the stretch. I thought all in all, that was a good performance. And it backed up his debut pretty well. His debut that you can go back and look at with your Formulator PPs, he was super impressive winning that day.
The 5 Tappet to win, versatile homebred son of Tappet for Live Oak. This is a graded stakes winner on synthetic going long, a stakes winner on dirt sprinting, and he comes into this race off of a stakes placing at Tampa Bay Downs. Let's watch the sprint for Florida breds at Tampa Bay last time out, and there wasn't a lot of speed in this race. He tried to get into it, Mike, with a wide sweep on the turn. I was a little disappointed he didn't get by this horse on the lead, but maybe he needed the race, his first start since November.
Yeah, I'm disappointed he didn't win this race too. The horse that winds up winning there, he's been in really good form, Dan. But listen, that's a horse who won 4 races last year, 3 of them in 20 claimers. I feel like Tappet to Win's supposed to go by him and win that race. And that's been the problem with Tappet to Win. Basically, right from the start, he has shown real flashes of potential. He's run some huge races in his career. And then he'll also at times just come back and not show up at all. He's really, really hard to trust.
Just seems like a horse that needs everything to go his way. Remember that race at Saratoga when he won his maiden? It was a gold rail, and he shot right on through that day. And another situation at Belmont when he won by a big margin. I think he will improve up his last race, and he is good on synthetic. I like him sprinting. Arzak beat 3 of these last time out in the Thorncliffe, a race we're going to show you right now. It was his first start of the year. This is a very underrated horse for Mike Trombetta, who seems to find good spots for Arzak each and every time. He's not a superstar. He's not a killer, but he's a good stakes horse on synthetic. He's okay on turf, and he was ready to go in this spot.
Yeah, he was really good in here. As you mentioned already, there are a bunch of horses off of layoffs in this race, but Arzak was one of them. And he just smashed this field. He sat 4 wide up the backstretch, 3 wide on the turn. You could tell when they came to the top of the stretch that he was going to win. And he just blasted that field. A really good performance and fast time. If he runs that kind of a race right back, he's going to be super tough.
99 Beyer speed figure for that race, 2 for 2 lifetime on the Woodbine Synth. Silent Poet is the number 7. He's a really likable horse. He's won 11 of 23, almost $1 million in earnings, won the Grade 1 Highlander sprinting on the lawn last year, then went on the layoff for a long time. He came back with a good effort to be second to Arzak in the race we just saw. He likely needed the race, but I wonder if he's slightly better on turf, Mike, than he is on synth. And even though he's 8 to 1 on the morning line, I wouldn't be surprised because of his reputation if he takes a little money.
Yeah, I had those same concerns. I think there's a chance he's just a little bit better on turf. Although they haven't, in his defense, they haven't run him that often on this surface. And at the end of the day, that most recent start there, Dan, maybe they were just being a little bit easy on him, making his first start back off the layoff, because he actually broke on top and had the lead very briefly up the backstretch. But once some horses moved up to his outside, his rider just took him back. He's like, we're not going to go contest this thing. They took him back off it, let him sit a little bit, and he got up for second. I think they were probably using that race as a prep off the layoff.
Red River Rebel is up next. This is a lightly raced 4-year-old making his first start of the year. He's a stakes winner on dirt. He's a stakes winner on synthetic. He last ran in the Kennedy Road Stakes, the race we talked about in the Open with Super Stonehenge, a race with no pace. And he did try to rally from out of it, but I really think that the comment blocked stretch, that exaggerates the trouble. I don't think this horse had a lot of trouble, and he only finished evenly.
I agree with that. He was never winning that race, so I'm not giving him any kind of a big excuse there. He was just in a little bit too tough, and he did the best he could with it, Dan, and wound up finishing 5th. Prior to that, Secret Reserve finished well ahead of him. That was a turf race, and this horse made a little bit of an early move in that race, but still, it's not the kind of performance that made me want to, bet him back against a field like this. He just feels like he's in really tough here.
Stablemate number 9, Lenny K, also trained by Kevin Attard, well back in the Kennedy Road, that paceless race, tried to get into it from back of the pack, maybe was compromised. In the Thorncliffe last time out, he passed some tired runners and ran on with some interest to finish 3rd. It was his first start off the layoff. I can see him improve. This is a horse that's a little bit underrated, Mike, because he ran a couple of nice figures over the surface sprinting last year.
I agree with that. The race off the layoff last time, you just sort of hope that doesn't pull any money in his direction, Dan, because really he was just picking up pieces in there. He never looked like he was going to win. But if he's some kind of a big price, you know that he has better races than that going back to last year. They're not in stakes competition, so he still got that to prove, but he did run some nice races.
And the morning line favorite completes the field, the number 10, Super Stonehenge. This horse was very good when dusting Pink Floyd in last year's Cartier. He won that race by 4 lengths, but he did have several prep races on dirt in New York leading up to that race. And now he's going to run in the Cartier off a little bit of a layoff. We mentioned the excuses in the Kennedy Road, Mike. Just the trip and pace scenario didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, he broke from the outside post there. They just decided to raid him. They never tried to get over with him. He just sat wide up the backstretch, came wide off to turn into the stretch there. He still tried to race on the entire way there. It's not like it was a terrible performance, Dan, but I just don't think he really had a fair chance with the trip that he was given. Prior to that, his races were really good. I guess they make him the horse to beat.
I agree. I think he is the horse to beat. Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Triple Crown season is upon us with the Preakness next week, and you'll get all the latest videos from DRFTV. Here are our selections for the Jacques Cartier. It is a wide open race. We see it differently. Striker has so much upside, Mike, and I love the way he's finished his races off. I think there's going to be some pace in this race for him to run at. He has a lot of upside.
Yeah, that's why I took him. We'll see what kind of price he's. Then I wouldn't go too low on this horse if he winds up taking a lot of money. I just feel like there's a chance he turns out to be pretty good in here. And I just didn't. A lot of the other horses in here that have run faster or better races than him, I just didn't really trust most of them.
Tap It to Win might be one of them. I mentioned before, I think he needs a perfect scenario. He didn't get it last time out at Tampa off the layoff. Maybe made a wide move into a slow pace. This time around, I think he'll at least be a little bit fitter. He should get some pace, and I think he'll get the jump on a horse like Striker turning into the stretch. But he's got to rise off that morning line. It's a little too light for me. 4-10-6-2 for Mike. 5-6-7-1 for me. Good race, the Sunday race of the day. It's the Jacques Cartier at Woodbine. Best of luck.